These are lessons that have generally changed the way that I think about my life. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube video. So the day that you are going to be watching this, it will actually be my birthday the next day. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate my birthday than to do a video of the 21 lessons that I learned before 21. So I actually have them all written out here on my little Fleur's 20s diaries journal book. So I made a list of all of the things that I learned, and I thought that I would share them with you because these are lessons that have generally changed the way that I think about my life. So lesson number 1 is that self-awareness is key. And this is something that has generally changed me for the better, because your healing journey is only going to be made easier when you realize that you have to have self-awareness. If you do not have self-awareness, how do you expect yourself to figure out what it is that you need to change in order to become a better version of yourself? Because sadly, we won't be able to heal if we don't know what the problem is, and you might be running away from the problem. Running away from the problem isn't going to help you. It isn't going to be able to make you a better version of yourself. Instead, it's just going to make you avoid it. It's going to make you avoid being that higher version of yourself. You have to know what your flaws are as a person so that you can then overcome them. And maybe they're not flaws that you'll be able to overcome, but you are just self-aware of them and you love yourself for them no matter what. Number 2 is that growth will take time and that progress won't just happen overnight. Like, it's the same thing for like a glow up. You know how you see those videos on YouTube where it's like, do a 24-hour glow up with me. I like them for the aesthetic and for the vibe of just getting excited about glowing up, but I don't like them for the sense that we feel as a society that we have to glow up in 24 hours, because that generally isn't possible. You cannot glow up in 24 hours. It might take weeks to months for you to have that glow up, because it comes from the internal, and then that internal will affect the external. So growth will take time. You might not change as an individual overnight, but you will change with however much time it's going to take you to get to that point. And it's not about the time, it's about who you become on that journey. If the destination was the most important thing, then the journey wouldn't be something that we would always be looking back on. We don't look back on that prize. We don't look back on that end goal. We look back on the journey, because that's what made the destination worth having. Like, for example, I will graduate this September, and I'm sure that when I'm older, I'm not going to be looking back at me graduating. I'm going to be looking back at my university journey and how that shaped me as a person. So you need to remember that your journey is just as important as your destination, and that because of that, growth will take time. Number 3 is that you really do have to trust your instinct. I've had so many cases where I've been too scared to trust my gut and trust my instinct, but I will always end up being correct. And even if there is someone in your life who's trying to test you and test whether your instinct is actually the truth, the only person that knows you like you do is you. There is no one that knows you as much as you know you. And so how can someone else come along and say that they think they know you better than you know you? You need to trust your judgment, because it will always end up being right in the end. This leads me on to number 4, which is that it's okay to change your mind. There are going to be so many times in life where you are going to want to change your life, whether that be in your career, whether that be in the major that you do in university or even sixth form, whether that be in your interests, whether that be in the people that you want to spend time around, whether that be in your relationship, and whether you started dating someone and then you realize that they're not right for you. You have the free will to change your mind. And the minute that someone is holding you down, that's when that person is not meant for you, whether that be a friend, a partner, even a family member. If you have to cut that person out to better your life, then that's what you have to do. Because at the end of the day, everyone should agree with the things that you want to do. No one should be holding you back from following your instinct and following what feels right for you. So if you want to change your mind, change your damn mind. Number 5, and something that I have struggled with for a really long time, and I'm only actually putting into action in my 21st year of life, is that setting boundaries is essential. How can you expect other people to respect you if you don't first respect yourself? Once you respect yourself and once you start setting those boundaries, that's when people will start respecting you. As well as that, the minute that you start setting boundaries, you are going to start seeing who is right for you and who is just trying to take advantage of you, because there will be people in your life who are not happy with those boundaries that you are setting because they can no longer reap the rewards of you not setting boundaries. And that's how you will know know what people you shouldn't have in your life no more. Number 6, and something that I personally love, is that learning will never stop. Whether this is in the academic world or in just life in general, there will always be something more to learn. As a person, you can't believe that you know everything in this world. That's literally physically impossible. Even the world's most famous scientists didn't know everything in the world. And so you have to go along with life feeling grateful for consistently learning new things, even if they come through negative lessons that you don't necessarily want to come across. There is so much to learn from the world, and if we knew everything, it would take away the excitement of being able to learn new things from people, from situations, from negative situations or positive ones. And so there is so much to be grateful for in the fact that we don't know everything, because then that gives us something to look forward to in life. Number 7 is that true friends are priceless. You will learn this from a young age, but if you spend your time around people that don't care about you, that's going to make you not care about yourself. As you should be taking care of yourself first before you take care of others, if you are spending time around people that don't love you, how do you think that's going to make it easier for you to then love yourself? In order to love yourself, not only do you need to give back to yourself, but you also need to be around people who give to you just as much as you give to them. These true friends that you will find in your life are priceless, so don't let them go unless they give you a reason to. Number 8, and a really important lesson for those that might be a little bit younger and have all this pressure to make these decisions in their life: not everything needs to be figured out right now. Now, I know if you're in sixth form and you're having to try and figure out what university you want to go to or what major you want to do, that it definitely doesn't feel like that. You feel like you have to have everything figured out right now. But this links back to the previous point where I said that you can change your mind. Not everything needs to be figured out now. You don't need to have a 5-year plan, okay? Having a 5-year plan is actually constraining you. It's putting yourself in this box, because you right now, you think, okay, in the next 5 years, this is what I want to do. But how do you know the person that you're going to be in 5 years' time? How do you know what the universe or God, whatever it is that you believe in, has in store for you? So because you don't know, and you're just basing it off of what you know now, today, 5 years prior, you are actually giving yourself a vision to achieve now instead of 5 years' time, because you don't know who you're going to be in 5 years' time. So what you could be wanting to achieve in 5 years' time could be 10 times less better than what the universe has in store for you, and so you're holding yourself back. That's why it's okay to have like a year plan. I tend to do like a year plan for whatever year I am in that current moment. Focus on the now, and the future will come in its own way. It will happen in its own way. You just need to trust that it will happen in the right way and in the way that will work for you. Number 9, and again, something that has taken me a really long time to figure out, is that you should be embracing your vulnerability and seeing how beautiful it is to being able to connect with others. When I was younger, I used to think that I always used to have a smile on my face. I couldn't ever be vulnerable, because if I was vulnerable, then other people would feel down. That's not how it works. You will be connecting with others in a way that you wouldn't ever be able to connect with them if you are vulnerable with them. When you are vulnerable with someone, you are showing them that no matter what, you trust them, that no matter what, you want them to see your flaws just as much as you see them, because you trust that they will love you regardless of having those flaws. It is a type of vulnerability that you cannot get from anything else. And so be vulnerable with your friends, be vulnerable with your loved ones, because that is going to help you to connect with them even further. Number 10 is that perfection is overrated. Okay, there is no such thing as perfection. If you are trying to reach perfection, you are never going to reach it. And I'm just going to tell you this now. You need to stop trying to reach perfection. Imperfection is beautiful. Having flaws is beautiful. If we were all the same person, and if we were all perfect, would life be interesting? Would we all be unique? We wouldn't be, because we would all be perfect. And in order to be all perfect, we'd all have to fit in the same category. We'd all have to be the same sort of person. And that would take away the enjoyment of life, of being able to meet different kind of people and learn from those people. So stop trying to be perfect and instead love what makes you imperfect, because that's what makes you you. Number 11 is that you don't always need everyone's approval, okay? Just before you're posting a story, stop asking for 5 people's approval of whether you look good in that picture. Do you think you look good in that picture? And don't start saying, no, oh my God, I look ugly, or start overthinking it. Just post it, because I'm sure that whoever you're going to ask is going to tell you that you look gorgeous. You need to start asking for your approval, because at the end of the day, Whose life is it? Why are you always seeking for other people's approval? You should be seeking for your own approval. You should be seeking for what matters most to you instead of what matters most to other people. Being true to yourself is so much more important than seeking external validation. Number 12 is that money management is a skill. Learning about how to handle money and learning about how to invest is going to make you powerful, and there is no wrong time to start, so you just need to start now. Number 13 is that you should always be prioritizing your mental health. One of the deep cores of self-development is that you are always listening to how you feel and what makes you feel the way that you do, what triggers the emotions that you have. If you are not prioritizing your mental health and you're trying to avoid the way that you feel, how can you possibly expect yourself to feel loved, understood, and seen? Let's say you were in this conversation with this friend and they're trying to open up to you about the way that they feel mentally. If you then said to them, "Sorry, I don't care, can we move on to a more positive subject?" How do you think they would feel? They wouldn't feel loved by you. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just started crying because they were like, okay, well, that's just made me feel even worse. So why do you do the same thing to yourself? Why do you tell yourself that you always have to be positive or that you can't even be vulnerable with yourself? You know, it's one thing to be vulnerable with others. It's a completely other thing to be vulnerable with ourselves, because then we realize the things that we don't want to be realizing. But prioritizing your mental health and actually connecting with yourself and doing that shadow work that you need to do to become the highest version of yourself is going to deepen your connection not only with others, but most importantly with yourself. Number 14 is that celebrating your small wins are so important. That big win is never going to feel that great unless you celebrated the small wins and the journey to get to that point. As I was saying about how the journey is just as important, maybe even more important than the destination, you have to be thinking about all those little small wins and celebrating yourself for them, because that is what is going to make you the person who is going to reach that end goal. Number 15 is that clear communication and communication in general is so important. If you are not good at sharing the way that you feel, if you're not good at communication, then that's something that you need to work on, because nothing in life will ever thrive if you are not good at communicating and saying how you feel and how other people make you feel. Number 16, and a pretty easy one, is that you can't pour from an empty cup. You know that whole phrase of like half full, half empty? If you are consistently trying to pour out of your cup into someone else's cup and you're filling up their cup and it eventually overflows, how do you expect your cup to be full? The only way that you can start filling someone else's cup is if you fill your cup first, because you can't expect other people to then take what you have filled into their cup and put it back into your cup, because 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. So fill your cup first before you start filling someone else's. Number 17 is that failure is a lesson and not a setback. Once you start seeing it as a lesson and a chance to do it again, but even better, it is going to motivate you instead of pull you back, because when you decide that you get to have a say in what happens in your future instead of these failures, that is when things will start happening for you. Number 18 is that it is okay to outgrow people. You don't always need to hold yourself down in one stage of life. It is okay not to always want to be friends with the same people, or not to want to be in the same relationship if you've realized that one of you has outgrown the other. That is just a part of life. We have seasons in our life. We go from winter to spring, from spring to summer, from summer to autumn. We outgrow one season and we go into the next, and that's what makes life beautiful. So you have to start seeing your life as seasons, as chapters, and understanding that sometimes you won't bring the same characters from one season to the next, but once you have outgrown those old characters, you'll start meeting new characters who are going to make you even more fulfilled in your life. Number 19 is that self-love is a practice and isn't something that is automatic. You have to put it into your life. It has to become a routine. Just as we have a morning routine, a night routine, or a work routine where we're trying to become productive, you need to put self-care and implement it into your life. No one's going to hold you hostage and do your skincare for you in the morning. As much as that would be great, no one's going to do it for you. No one is going to hold you hostage and make sure that you wake up when your alarm goes off, or make sure that you go to bed at a reasonable time instead of scrolling through your phone for 4 hours before you eventually go to sleep at 3 a.m. You need to be the one that takes care of yourself. You can't be depending on someone else to do it for you, because if that person then decided to leave your life, who's taking care of yourself. If you are always taking care of yourself, no matter what happens in your life, you will always have yourself. And that's where you have to reparent yourself and start treating yourself the way that you would treat a child or a loved one. If you would make sure that your child wasn't going on their phone past 10 or 11 p.m., why don't you expect the same thing of yourself? Number 20 is that balance is key. It's something that will help you to build the life that you really want. Just as it's important to be productive, it's also important to have a rest and to ground yourself and come back to yourself. And the last lesson number 21, is that you are so much stronger than you think you are. And I want you to understand that because of how much you have gone through. Think about all of the massive struggles that you have gone through that you once thought was generally going to be the end of you. I mean, here I am knowing that I'm going to be turning 21 tomorrow when you're watching this, and I once thought that when I was a child, when I was going through all of these struggles, that I generally didn't want to see tomorrow. And it's a very dark thing to say, but it's something that I need to be aware of. If I was once at that point where I was thinking that way, isn't it crazy that I'm now about to turn 21, that I'm seeing life in a way that I have generally never seen it before, and I am more happy now than I have ever been before. So if that shows you anything, I want you to understand that there are always going to be times in your life where you are going to be going through something, but that's what builds your character. Just as we say that adversities builds a character for people in films or series, it's the same for us as well. You have to go through the lows in order to go to the highs and to be able to appreciate the highs as well as understand why we have the lows. And that's everything for this video. If you want to see what I get up to on my birthday, then definitely stay tuned, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you know when my videos are posted. I post self-development videos every single Sunday at 12 p.m. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, my lovelies.